The topic for the same is Future Gazing, the World of Web 3.0. To begin the proceedings, may I please call upon stage Ekalavya Bhattacharya, Web3 Evangelist and podcaster, future-proofing FusedBulb Blakomi. To join him on stage, may I please welcome Sourjya Mohanty, COO, Epic On and Stream Sense. Deepak Salvi, co-founder and COO Chingari app. We also have Pratik, Gauri, founder and CEO Fire, and Shabir, Momin, managing director, New Media Holding, joining us virtually for this session. The stage is all yours. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think everyone's like, what is Web3? Bahar jate hai. We don't want to know more. Let's just wait for Shabir and Pratik to join in. Hey, Shabir, what's up? And I think even Pratik's going to join in. How are you? Even Pratik's going to join in. So guys, Web3, we're going to do a little bit of future gazing. It's very difficult to explain Web3 in just half an hour. But I'm hoping we'll get you a little excited and get you a little curious, so you'll go and eventually go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what is this and why is it the future, right? Can someone just check if Pratik's joining us? Or you can't have two screens. Anyway, let's start. Shabir, I hope you can hear us well. I wanted to start off by... one of the most common words when it comes to Web3 is metaverse. When someone asks me what is metaverse, I say meta stands for most efficient tactic available to make some more money, because a lot of brands are like, we want to do something in the metaverse. Shabir's company has been doing some really cool work in the metaverse. So Shabir, I wanted to ask you, what is the metaverse for you? And tell us a little really cool stuff which you've been doing on the metaverse. And then, of course, we'll all jam a little bit about the metaverse.
Hi, Ekalavya. Hi, everybody else. I think what we are seeing today is the Gen 1 of Metaverse, which is already live and people are experiencing it. And like Gen 1 of any product or any technology or any new evolution, it will be a little harder to get in, difficult to glitchy and all of that. But what's coming in Gen 2 is, I think, what is the more exciting one, because Gen 2 will be hyper-real. When we say hyper-real, it will be difficult to distinguish between a real person and a hyper-real virtual avatar. And also the environment, the ecosystem, the world that it is going to be placed in, which is the metaverse, is also going to be hyper-real and interactive. What we've been doing is our other company, which is HoloSuit and HoloWorld, we basically create currently metaverses, but which is being used by the defense. So US defense, Indian defense, Korean defense, they all train on our metaverse, and all special ops are trained there. We do a lot of tactical training, special ops training, border patrol, special scenario-based trainings, and a lot of other things are trained there. Similarly, we also have educational metaverses, and we run degree and diploma programs on that. But these are all private metaverses.
Shabir, I just wanted to interject a little bit, right? When everyone says metaverse, and it's basically probably the evolution of the internet, right? But Shabir, one of the basics of Web3 is decentralization, right? It's basically meaning people do not like too much power with the big data companies, big tech companies. So amidst all this, how much do you think, like, how much of the metaverse is actually going to be decentralized, and how much is just going to be just an extension of AR, VR?
there will be a lot of it which will be decentralized. There will be a lot of it which will be, I would say, publicly driven or driven by multiple people in a DAO format, because that's the whole holy grail of the whole Web3, right? Which is Web3 does not need to be controlled by a specific company or a specific government or a specific, it should be controlled by the overall people who are participating in this. So every member is basically technically a owner of that whole project, or all that one particular variant of that metaverse or a blockchain or a crypto or whatever you basically look at. And that is what is important to understand, that it will remain decentralized. But yes, while it will remain on blockchain, which the format is decentralized, there will also be private blockchains. I mean, there will also be private networks. Just for example, if you look at internet today, which is what we experience today, there are public networks and there are also private networks. Like, for example, the whole defense network is a private network. There are also many other private networks that work globally, which are either sensitive because of healthcare or because of national security or because of some surveillance or something else. Similarly, Metaverse will also have private sector and public facing and decentral, but is internal, or a network which is internal in nature. So it will also have, I mean, the best way to explain it is, imagine what we are experiencing, everything is going to become Web3. Like what we used to have in Web 1, where the society started having a digital version of their shops, their page, their visual, their information, everything started going to in Web 1. Web 2 actually took that to the next level, which is social media interactions, commerce, and all of that. Web 3 is basically taking it to the next jump, but it is going to have a lot of virtual reality, a lot of augmented reality, a lot of machine learning, a lot of AI, a lot of things that people usually earlier used to ask for an in-person interaction. Now,
so fascinating, Shabir. You know, and we'll just quickly come back to you in a while. You know, Shaurya, I wanted to chew your brains on something. So one of my favorite dialogues, favorite quotes about the future is actually a William Gibson quote in 2003. So he said, the future is already here. It's just not equally distributed, right? And a lot of AR, VR stuff, a lot of crypto's been around for a while. It's not like suddenly in the last year, crypto's been around. Mainly because slowly people are getting aware of what's happening. But I wanted to primarily talk about the media industry, right? Like you work with Inten. Tell us, how can a media content maker avoid FOMO when it comes to Web3?
Hello. Yeah. So I think very interesting topic, and where Momin left. So I would just take the discussion from there. So I read a very interesting quote where it said, Web 1 is companies created, company earned. That means it was one-sided, unilateral content that used to come and they used to earn. Web 2 is where companies, people created and companies earned. Because in today's economy of Web 2.0, so there are a lot of ecosystems already there where, content creators are creating and then companies are earning through via subscription and ad.
Yeah, true.
Web 3 is basically people create and people earn. So this is where the decentralization, the secret sauce comes here. And, talking about the content piece, so basically it's a connection between the fan and creator. So this decentralization or Web 3.0 has actually made the connection between the fans and the creators so seamless that, whether it is voting.
But what do you mean by that, Shaurya? When you say it's become seamless, the content, honestly, just seems like a fancy sentence, right? So what do you mean by that?
So there are three parts to it.
Sure.
The first part is decentralization. That means there is no hierarchy in this DAO. So everybody has the equal share.
Why don't you explain what's
so
DAO
everybody
to a
has
couple of people?
everybody has an equal participation across, and they can vote what they like, what they don't like, and it is also publicly displayed. So there is a
decentralized autonomous organization is what Shaurya is talking.
So unlike the current traditional organization where we have a hierarchy, there are limited empowerment to the participants there, where the company decides how the content should be produced, how it should be exhibited, whether it should be exhibited or not. So all of these discussions goes out of the window, and the decentralized mode basically gives the equal authority and power to all the participants in the community. So there's a community feature that comes into the picture where it is equally distributed.
But
Then,
you know, Sean, how will production houses, okay? Do you actually see a production house working in the form of a DAO? Are people open for that level of transparency? Or you still think it's more of a theoretical concept and will take time?
no, I think the tectonic change is still happening. We are at a layer 1 kind of change or transition, where slowly the creators are coming forefront, and also there is an equal amount of participation from similar interest participants within the community. Now, to basically advocate this, that is where the tokenization comes or the NFTs come. And that is where you sort of incentivize the participants for their contribution into the community.
You know, I will take that token, the mention of tokens, and we'll come back to you. So a little about Chingari, right? So Chingari is a platform which helps creators earn more money, and also people who consume content can make more money. Deepak, tell us a little about less than Chingari, but tell us a little about the Gauri token, right? And I also read that you're one of the top 3 Solana projects which are currently on. So like what does that mean for people who are probably already losing us, thinking यार ये लोग क्या बातचीत कर रहे हैं?
Yeah. So initially when we started Chingari, we thought creators आएंगे, people will put content and this thing. But we thought, what's in there for creators? Okay. Hello. Yeah. So what's in there for the creators? Because they are just taking effort to create content, and put it. And all the other organizations are, making money on their content basically. So we thought, why don't we create something different? And that's how we came up with the Gauri token, and we integrated Gauri token on Chingari. So whenever a creator who creates a content, whenever the content gets views, likes, shares, and everything, as per the contribution score, they get tokens. So that's the real way of decentralization. We don't have anything in our hand. Whatever they are taking an effort to create content, and as per the response to their content, they get tokens basically. So that's a simple way of doing things. One more thing what we did was 2 days before we launched NFT platform also. So everyone thought making NFTs too difficult and kind of एक बहुत बड़ा science है उसके पीछे. Okay, so we made it simple. It's in a right now beta version, but anyone who can, right now we are having a chat. Someone can create a video and put it on.
But okay, so I'm going to take this conversation since so for those who don't know, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, right? Deepak, now tell me, why as a creator will my fans care? And it's a linked question also. A lot of movies and film companies are now saying, okay, we will just release tokens, right? Like poster ka token bana denge, etc. It seems very gimmicky and marketing led for me. So I wanted to understand both. Why will a creator's fans care? And why will viewers eventually care about tokens of a movie or a piece of content?
So every NFT, right now there's a hype of NFT. Iska NFT bana diya, uska NFT bana. But what is the use cases? There should be a real use case for any NFT. So if you ask about Chingari creators NFT, so it's very simple. If I'm a creator, I'm creating good content, I'm earning on Chingari. If you buy one of my NFT and you are a fan, you buy NFT, what happens to you? Fan, okay, you need something. So whatever I earn from my video, that NFT video, you'll get 10% of it. So that's kind of, use cases. There are multiple use cases we are working on it, but this is one of the use cases. So we minted near about 100 NFTs, creator NFTs, and all are sold within 24 hours.
But is there a secondary market where people can also make some money off it?
Yeah. So people can, sell, resell, because again, it'll get more views, likes, and shares, that way.
Sure. Tell me, NFTs in the media space, right? Apart from fractional NFTs and smart contracts for rights, etc., which logically will probably take time, what is happening in the NFT space when it comes to media?
So I think NFT is, in layman language, it's going to be a currency, is how we see the parallels with the regular currency. Yes, so NFT has its value when it is highly circulated within the community or in the DAO, right? So the circulation basically gives the power or the prowess to sort of have its value going up. And the second bit is, of course, the transaction, right? Along with the circulation, the transaction, what value does it carry, and at what value are you releasing the NFT to start with? And as the circulation goes up and the creators, the particular member within the community, they start collecting the tokens of the
Do you
NFTs.
have an NFT? Have you
Yeah,
bought
yeah,
an NFT? Why don't
I
you give us an example, both of you, of, and even Shabir, you know, like a lot of people talk about NFTs, and let's talk about some proper examples, which probably people can Google a little later, right? Like, what are these, what made you buy the NFT? And or any creator whose NFT you've really liked, and Shabir, probably like so much happening in the Middle East also, even you can probably tell us some NFT either of a brand which you've really liked. So Shara, why don't you start, and then we can just ask all of you about
Yeah, I think the art and collectible is one piece where the NFTs are extremely popular. So, you know, whether it is a crypto through a Shibu coin or a Doge coin, which sort of took up during the announcement of Elon Musk. So we saw the kind of ups and downs that we went through. But yes, we did make money while transacting with those cryptos and with the NFTs. And they did carry value since the circulation went up.
But there was a recent bloodbath, right? Like
Yeah.
there was so many,
Yes.
like initially there was so much hype. Everyone was like, ha, aap artist ho, aap NFT bana do. And honestly, a year and a half back, all these NFTs were just getting bought where people were thinking overnight they'll become millionaires. But now if you see, there's been a little hesitancy, right? A lot of artists who had great drops in their first probably time, they are not seeing it again. Is the market maturing?
So basically how I see this is that the strong pillar for any economy or any country or a sovereign country is its currency. So it's again regulated. The currency is something which is regulated by government. So there are certain regulations which have come recently, in recent past, where it had not been a good precedence for NFTs, and definitely that creates a lot of it's a lurking fear among the collectors who have the NFTs already, having
the whole
in the
asset
wallet.
aspect and taxation.
And
We'll talk a
taxation,
little about
yeah,
that.
little bit of
but,
that.
But you know, and since Shaurya mentioned it, and I'm going to make it's slightly uncomfortable, okay, Deepak? The Gauri token was doing very well. Now, not just because of Gauri, there was a bloodbath, crypto winter, which happened, and a lot of, pretty much every currency got impacted. Now, when something like this happens, how do you react? Like,
It's like a stock market, you know. If it goes down, it definitely will come up. And again, we should focus on building things instead of just looking at what's going down. So we've been building. So our tokens were down, but we were building NFT marketplace, self-regulated NFT marketplace, which is first time in India or world, we can say. So keep on building, and the community is there to support you. If they like your project, they will definitely support it. And again, in our community, all the community will look out for money. If you are there, you spend time on it.
Tell us about some creators on Gauri who've been doing well.
Yeah. So again, Gauri came up, it went down, again it's coming up. And again, we are launching few products back to back, and it will come up as they see there is some kind of use case. It's not just a NFT to just keep it in your wallet. There should be a use cases, and we are supporting creator economy, and that's how it is. Every creator who creates a video on Chingari, if his wallet is activated.
Tell us about some of the creators on Chingari, right? Like who've got a great community, or who we should definitely check out.
Yeah. So
who's your favorite creator on Chingari?
So there are multiple, we can't there are multiple creators, and we are not looking at a top kind of thing. We believe that the top 10 are developed. Why don't we focus on the underdeveloped creators, groom them? We have multiple communities of each languages basically. So we are grooming them basically.
Shabir, I want to know what's happening in the Middle East NFT market space. Why are all bright talent leaving India? Is it because of regulation? Is it because there's some clarity when it comes to the government? Or everyone is moving to Dubai? Everyone's raising funds for their Web3 companies in Dubai. Why is India missing out on some of the action?
Ekalavya, I think how people get NFT or what is an NFT, I think there is a lot of clarification in the world that needs to happen around that, because there is a Web3 community which is very deeply entrenched, and there's a non-Web3 community. Unfortunately, 99% of the world is now non-Web3. Which is slowly going to become Web3 because there will be no option left. But while that is happening, we should understand that crypto is the currency that is going to be used during for all the Web3 related businesses, whereas NFTs are assets, and assets are of all different kinds, right? Assets are consumable assets, assets are reusable assets, and assets are for showpiece. Now, for example, let's take MF Hussain painting. MF Hussain painting is what makes the painting industry look good, because it's a great piece of art and also sells high, and a lot of people aspire and idolize someone, a painter like him, and then try to follow the path and become decent painters over the years. Similarly, Sanjeev Kapoor as a chef is a creator who's creating great food in his industry and is making his industry become bigger. But if you look at the metaverse universe, or you look at the Web3 universe in all formats, all assets that exist in that are, in other words, in some form NFT. I mean, not everybody, like for example, there were earlier days, I mean, Stone Age or earlier 200 years, 500 years back, people used to make their own house. Now they don't make their own house, they hire somebody to make the house. Similarly, they hire somebody to plumb their house, they hire somebody to paint their house. There are a lot of things in America, for example, people still paint their house, people still fix their window. In India, people don't do that. They have people who come and do it, no matter whether they're rich or poor. But similarly is NFT. Creators will create products which others will buy. Some will be bought for consuming, some will be bought for showcasing, some will be used in a different way. I think that's how the real NFT class is going to work. But right now is the MF Hussain era which is going on, where
Very nicely put,
beautiful
Shabir.
looking arts is what is being sold.
We also want to just welcome Pratik. He was really sick. Thank you so much for joining in. A little about Fire. They are one of the fastest growing unicorns in the world, I think. And they're doing a lot of stuff in sustainability. So Pratik, why don't you tell us a little more and then explain to us that this energy sucking process of minting and forging, how are you trying to change that world and actually move towards, say proof of fire, or in a way that we don't waste so much energy and towards a more sustainable Web3?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being with all of you. So what we've built at Fire is something which we're trying to revolutionize the whole space. So we're trying to do two things in the whole Web3 space. So the first is we figured out that the biggest problem in the whole space is sustainability, because most of the consensus mechanisms, so consensus for a lot of people who don't know is the way any blockchain works. So what we've done is we've created a layer 1 blockchain, which is an infrastructure, and anybody can actually use that infrastructure. So it's like creating Google of Web3, similar to an Ethereum or a Solana, but the difference being that we don't use proof of work or proof of stake as consensus. So two of the most widely used consensus mechanisms have been proof of work or proof of stake. Now, when you talk about proof of work, it basically means that you have to spend more energy to get a block rewarded to yourself. So the way the validation process works, so when you have to enter data into any block, it happens through a consensus mechanism. Then when it's proof of work, it basically means that you have to spend more energy, which means you can never solve the problem of sustainability if you use that consensus mechanism. So we figured out very early in our journey. Then the second consensus, which has been very widely used, is called proof of stake, which basically means that you have to stake more money to get a block rewarded to yourself, which also takes you back to the traditional finance problem that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and you can never attain the problem, or you can never solve the problem of financial inclusion, where 1.5 billion people in the whole world out of 6.5 billion people have been left out of credit and banking. And traditional credit services. So what we figured out, what we built is called proof of benefit, or also proof of fire, where what we did was we tokenized 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we've built one of the world's first mathematical models which not only measures sustainability but also rewards it financially. So the way our consensus works is, if for instance you use geothermal energy and I'm using coal, so there is a weighted average for everything that a company uses. So for instance, any government or any Fortune 500 that uses a blockchain, they get rewarded for using sustainable practices. So what that does is, our layer one infrastructure is actually going to transition the world from a for-profit paradigm in the age of fourth industrial revolution to a for-benefit paradigm in the age of fifth industrial revolution. And the name FIRE actually also comes from the fifth industrial revolution, a concept that I started promoting about 15 years back to prove the thesis that you can actually make more money if you do more good to the world. So the more good you do, the more money you make. I built 8 businesses before FIRE, but I figured out that blockchain and Web3 is a mechanism, or is a tool or a vehicle to actually impact 1 billion people the quickest, fastest, in the most secure way, and to make the world not only more abundant but also more green. So that's why, I started FIRE, and now we've become a team of about 110 people. About 11 months old, we just raised 100 million in a Series A at a valuation of $1.5 billion to become one of the world's fastest growing unicorn or $1 billion company. But the journey for us has been very fascinating, because the different route we've taken, unlike an Ethereum or unlike most of the other blockchain players, is we have targeted traditional systems, which basically means we figured out if we want to impact 1 billion people, we cannot do it using the small universe, which is not even 0.5% of the whole world. So unless you bring banks, unless you bring governments, unless you bring Fortune 500s to adopt the Web3 space, it's actually irrelevant, because you can build the best technology, but until it's used, it's not going to impact people. So the route that we've taken is, we are working with governments and we are working with Fortune 500 companies. So we've already signed innumerable MOUs in India, in the US, in Nigeria, to bring the government in the Web3 space.
That's fascinating, Pratik. Really well done. I'm going to just continue this conversation a little bit, because Shabir mentioned about getting more people. You mentioned about getting more people. You mentioned about getting 1 billion people. Personally, what do you feel is going to drive Web3 consumption, right? Is it going to be gaming? Because a lot of people have realized that since the basic stuff of MMORPGs have existed for nearly 20 years, the whole aspect of collecting assets have existed in games again for multiple years, right from GTA to what we are seeing. So I wanted to know a personal little point from all of you, say probably Deepak starting with you and then Sourjya, about what do you feel most passionate about in this Web3 space? And then what do you believe will get in more people, more conversation, so that everyone gets a little more curious about Web3?
Yeah, so right now for us, create a community is the first part, but gaming again is a very strong, and still it's not started in India. So I wanted to give example of Axie Infinity, which is big, but getting user to understand.
Since you mentioned Axie Infinity was a game, a play to earn game where you could have little monsters, collect little monsters, get them to play against each other and win money, right?
Yeah. So again, for India, first let them understand what the crypto is or token is, how to create wallets. So that's the first part which we have to explain people, because that's a starting point, and we have billions of people. So right now, I'll give you example. We have 165 plus million users. But in that, in last 3 months, we just started, activating the wallet, and we have more than 1 million activated wallet where they get earnings from the tokens. So we drop me about 50,000 tokens every day for their contribution. So right now, making them understand what the wallet is, how token work, what you will get for your contribution, that is very important for,
Interesting. Char, what do you think is going to drive Web3 over the next 1 year or so?
Yeah, I think investment is something that's very key, and a lot of projects, whether it is involving artists and fan management, or whether, as Pratik put together, the FIRE philosophy. So I think investment is the core of everything in a DAO structure. So anything and everything to do around investment of philanthropy, music, and sports. I think these 3 segments are very, very strong, where I see a very nice use case of DAO growing omnidirectionally. So it's across length and breadth, where the members and the community also increases. And I said the NFT economics also increases as the circulation will also increase. I think recently we saw Nike also creating
Nike's
NFTs.
been doing stuff in
and
Decentraland,
they came up with the
Sandbox,
digital sneakers.
Roblox.
We have been wearing the physical sneakers, but now it's digital sneakers. Now
That's a marketing manager's
yes.
utopia, right? Like someone is paying to actually wear your digital
and you
sneaker
own.
in the metaverse.
So basically, you can download the image of Mona Lisa from Google. So what's the fun of having the NFT? It's basically the authentic copy, the smart contract that you're really part of it, because you hold a piece of the authentic artwork with you as a owner, as a proud owner, and that gives the pride. So it's a sense of pride, transparency, and as well as
very
the
interesting. Shabir, what do you think is going to drive? How are we going to get 1 billion, especially Indians, right? Like I know both of you. In fact, Pratik, you're based out of companies which are not in India. But tell us, how are we going to get on board more Indians onto this Web3 bandwagon?
I think it's the ease of adoption, and ease of adoption happens in two ways. One is how easily can I create an account or a wallet or my AML or KYC? How easily can I do it? Can I do it with one click? I think analogy to that is how easily you could get your Paytm account. I think it has to be made as simple and easy as that. I think that will build adoption. The second is, what happens when you get adoption? I mean, if I opened my account or I entered the Web3 space, what do I do there? The world needs to give them, or the Web3 ecosystem needs to make it much more simpler to do simple things, and we get rewarded much better. For example, if I'm watching content like Chingari does, is watching content, you get tokens, right? Nothing much has changed in their life, but they still started getting tokens. So I strongly believe in that fan economy ecosystem that is we're talking about. And like what we are planning at New Media Holdings and One Digital is also, we are going to be very soon announcing our entry into the Web3, because while we've been doing private network metaverses for the defense space for almost 4 years now, but we are entering the public side of it now with our own layer 1, layer 2, layer 3s, which will basically have a very different dynamic of how it operates. The function also works very differently. And once we declare and we come out with it, we will explain more of how we are looking at, because our goal is not just to adapt, but also to educate, teach, because one of the strongest reason why Hello World, which is the other company of ours, exists in the farm is because we are using very strong algorithms, and we own patents around those algorithms, about 200 of those, where we are basically teaching robots and human beings. And we also have a body suit which basically simulates every muscle movement. So if you look at a metaverse today, a metaverse has very fixed characters with very fixed motion. Now we're talking about exactly human replication motion. So you could be doing things in real world and doing at the same time in the virtual world, which is in the metaverse, and which we in our own language call it phygital, because it's physical and digital together. And once that ecosystem opens up, your gaming, your communication, your education, everything can become very universal. Like, imagine the impact while we are doing basic things. Imagine the impact it will have in the education space, because the true nature of uniformity of education can be made available anywhere in the world. And there are many things which obviously we are looking at the fun part, the exciting part, the money-making part, but imagine this as a way of life of the future, and that's how it is going to be.
Fascinating. Pratik, what do you think is going to drive the next billion people onto Web3, especially India?
I think we would need 1 million blockchain Web3 entrepreneurs, or 1 million CEOs. The way I think of a CEO is collaborate, experiment, and own. That's what all about the Web3 space. So it's a very small space. It's kind of budding. So you need to collaborate. I think one esteemed panelist also mentioned about investments. I think that's going to be very important in two spaces. One is the Web3 decentralized space, and the second is sustainability. So pretty much centered around the 5th Industrial Revolution concept that we've been kind of promoting. We have actually also, Shabir mentioned about education. I think it's going to play a very, very active role to also increase the ease of accessibility and make a layman understand. So currently my mom, when she uses Facebook, she doesn't know what's going on in the background, but she can actually do an instant messaging. And that's why the use of Web2 kind of increased, because the technology is not, doesn't hamper the use. So I think that's also has to enter the Web3 space. So what we are doing is, since we are a layer 1 blockchain, also one of the very few layer one sustainable blockchains, what we've done is we started a digital university where we are giving grants to developers to start building on top of us. So we're doing two things here. One is B2B and B2C. B2B, I already mentioned, we are working with governments and Fortune 500s, because through that we get access to millions of people through those B2B players. On the other side, we are doing B2C, where we have started a digital university to educate on the how to build on a layer one blockchain. So educate a developer, and we are starting a course in 90 days. Any developer can actually end up becoming a Web3 developer, meaning that you can actually learn Rust and Substrate and actually code. So that's, I think, going to be a very, very important piece to solve the whole puzzle of adoption. So in 90 days, we're starting a program where anybody can become a developer, and we're going to give them grants. So the first thing is educate them. Once the education is done, then we will invest in them if they are centered around the theme of the fifth industrial revolution, which is about working at the intersection of Web3 and sustainability, which in the nutshell, so in 3 years, if you talk about, by 2030, as India goes ahead to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which mean the 17 UN SDGs, on one side, I think Web3 is going to play a big, big role to actually achieve all the social goals. Because I think Shabir mentioned, a lot of people have thought that Web3 is a space to earn money, but that's not how I think of the space. I think it's going to be the epicenter and India needs to be the epicenter of the whole revolution, where you're going to achieve 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, which can be health or climate or education or solar or anything, using the power of decentralized or distributed ledger technology, which is blockchain. So we are doing all of that. We are doing education on one side for B2B and B2C. We are doing investments into B2B, B2C players, and we are making sure that the adoption happens. And in the end, my mom in 10 years or all the mothers can actually also adopt the technology, because nobody knows what's going on at the back end. So we are actually also making use. So for instance, everything is going to be linked to a mobile. So you don't need to remember those 16 hexadecimal addresses. It's very hard to for adoption. So we are doing a lot of innovative stuff there as well, apart from the consensus.
That's so fascinating, Pratik. Congratulations on all that, you, Shabir. Guys, I think time is up, and I hope few of you got a little interested and intrigued by what we were talking about. Not a heavy plug, but go down, start Googling a lot, figure out what's happening. I personally have a podcast. It's called Future Proofing with Eka. And I pretty much discuss about how blockchain is going to impact in various different fields, right? From sports, gaming, healthcare. So if what we spoke about, got you a little curious, then please go down the rabbit hole about everything everything's going to evolve, right? Like the web, like the evolution of the web is here. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to the future. Very excited about the same. May I please welcome Franklin Toscano, founder and CTO IWMBuzz Media Network, to come on stage and give away the mementos of the session. Thank you so much, gentlemen.